Today's Quran study. Today we'll be reading from Surah 20, verse 121. Let's all seek refuge in God from Satan the rejected. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Verse 121. They ate from it, whereupon their bodies became visible to them, and they tried to cover themselves with the leaves of paradise. Adam thus disobeyed his Lord and fell. Subsequently, his Lord chose him, redeemed him, and guided him. He said, "Go down there from all of you. You are enemies of one another. When guidance comes to you from me, anyone who follows my guidance will not go astray nor suffer any misery." so, we're picking up from where we last left off, verse 120. That this is really profound information, and it represents the most important time in human history, right? This the most important event, and the history of the human race is knowing uh, what happened, why we're here, where we come from. So when we're with God, and in the heavenly and the high society before the great feud took place, we can see um, these these uh, these different events that took place, and what we're reading about here is Adam being essentially tested and eventually duped by Satan. And Satan, anything the devil promises is but an illusion, and it's a lie as well. Because little, did Adam know? I mean, maybe he knew, maybe he didn't, but I mean, he had everything. He had the perfect security. He had, he was going to be able to live with his wife happily in paradise, as long as he didn't eat from this tree, and he was even warned about this. But, we can see that the devil duped them. They ate from it, whereupon their bodies became visible to them. So their bodies were down here on earth while their souls were in heaven. As as the messenger has clarified this information, and so this is when Adam disobeyed his Lord, and eating from the tree too is not the apple, uh, like some people, a lot of traditional. There's a lot of traditional beliefs about this in the monotheistic religions about eating from the tree and the apple and all that. That's just an allegorical representation from eating from the forbidden tree, the forbidden fruit, that the cursed, the tree that is accursed in the Quran, and basically disobeying God and falling into idol worship. This is what eating from the tree meant. It was and the messenger clarified and explained this, and it makes perfect sense. That it's not just some fruit that like an apple or an orange that you bite into. It's an allegory for eating, figuratively speaking, from that which is evil. And Satan lies invariably and lies about God, and thus Adam believed in what Satan was telling him, and so he fell. And so but this wasn't, the original crime, contrary to widespread belief. The original crime was before this, when we were all creatures in the high society, and when Satan initiated that famous blasphemy. So, we can see God is the Redeemer, the most merciful. And this is also because, Adam immediately repented too, in another part of I think in Surah 7, the purgatory, Adam and his wife, I think too, they said, if our Lord, if you do not have mercy on us, we'll be amongst the losers, uh, kind of paraphrasing there, but that's essentially what he said. And he recognized this. He was remorseful, regretful, and his Lord redeemed him. But we can see Satan is not like this. Satan still thinks he can do it. As far as running the earth without problem. So he's arrogant, and this is also something the messenger also talked about when people. I think one of the people within his congregation asked him about this, about like why Adam and why not Satan? And it's because Satan didn't want to be redeemed. He's wicked and he did not repent. Right? He did not. The messenger was very clear about that. He did not repent. And he continued on in his way and his arrogance and his defiance. So, you know, um, we can see God as the most just, and thank God for His infinite mercy. One of the other names the other day I was reading, he's possessor of infinite grace, right? So this is something to rejoice and be grateful for, but not take advantage, of course. So, when we repent for anything, we have to, um, our hearts must be sincere when we're doing it. And if we could go back in time, we would not do it. It repulses us, even if the sin is very small or it's a slip up, it should, if you were, when you catch yourself and you repent, it should become like scary, to you, repulsive, like to even go back and let's say, maybe lose your cool on somebody. You're out and about, or even within your own privacy, and it doesn't have to be on somebody. You could lose, you get frustrated. I mean that's objection, right? You could be working on something, tearing a piece of equipment apart. Something doesn't go your way. So this is having the right perspective about these things, because all that's recorded. We have to remember and keep this in mind. I mean, we don't want anything bad in our record, right? We don't want any sin, small or large. So, and when we repent, it only helps us, and it's so the enemies of one another. I've always looked at this like, the human being, because we all represented Adam when we're with being coming from Adam's DNA, and this is also something clarified and explained by the messenger. Had we, me or you or anybody else listening, had we been left, we would have committed, left in that same state. We would have eventually committed the same mistake as Adam did. But for all practical purposes, if I'm remembering this right, we were all inside of Adam, right? So we all fell in this respect too. So leaving it up to time, we would have all done the same thing. So, but we can see, how we're all sent down to this earth, and there's the disbeliever, among the two people. Among the people, there is the believer and the disbeliever, as the Quran verse from I think in the later surahs in the Quran, and how and how our works are of various kinds. So there's people that are our enemies. The disbeliever is an enemy of his Lord, and I mean even we as people among the earth, we can see all the chaos and evil and destruction, as well as a lot of the good things upon the earth. So it goes both ways, but we're sent down here as enemies of one another. And another way to look at this too is, knowing what this earth is. I mean, it's a halfway house to hell. This is our last, and this is our third and final chance So, it behooves us to, whenever guidance comes to us, to take advantage of this and be grateful for the guidance. Spread the message in the best possible manner and uphold the guidance. And we're guaranteed. I mean, all that. I think I don't know if it was this or maybe it was the study yesterday. Um, yeah, it was from Surah 38, where God said, after Satan claimed he was going to send all of his constituents astray, except the ones who worship God. God replied, I forget exactly, but he said, "The truth is all that I utter." So, and we know that, naturally, instinctively, God is the truth. And so, I mean, we're reading this here, and he says, "My guidance, for anyone who follows my guidance will not go astray nor suffer any misery." So this is the absolute truth. We have assurance that this is the truth from our Creator. So, so the enemies, we're enemies of one another, also in the sense, I mean, the disbeliever and the believer who believes in their Lord and is on the right path, versus a disbeliever who wants to invite you and everyone else to hell, whether they know it or not. So I mean, we're enemies of one another in this sense, and also in a lot of other ways. The transgressors, the violent offenders. I mean, the list can go on. Right? We see all the chaos in today's world, but eventually, in the coming years, with the victory, that'll subside. 124 for the disbelievers, miserable life unavoidable. As for the one who disregards my message, he will have a miserable life, and we resurrect him on the day of resurrection blind. He will say, "My Lord, why did you summon me blind when I used to be a seer?" He will say, "Because you forgot our revelations when they came to you, you are now forgotten." We thus requite those who transgress and refuse to believe in the revelations of their Lord. The retribution in the hereafter is far worse and everlasting. So if left up to these people, like for them to spread their falsehood, if things went their way, or if they had any type of power, which can never happen, because la quwwata illa billah, no one possesses power except God. Everything would be diseased and corrupted upon the earth. The people who disregard the message, nothing, they bear no fruit, nothing good comes from them. It's just evil and corruption. So I mean, this is the type of life that they choose, and thus why they're miserable. Because you really, the only other path that you can choose is other than the truth, God's path to happiness, submission, reverence, appreciation, devotion, love, happiness, gratefulness, steadfastness, perseverance, persevering through adversity, and all the right path, versus, the other alternative, which is Satan's path. That's really what it comes down to. Now, within Satan's path, right? There's a multitude of paths. There's hundreds of thousands of different paths. You can be worshiping Jesus. That's one path. Worshiping Muhammad. That's another. Worshiping the saints. Worshiping Satan directly. Worshiping, whatever. It's all the same path. It goes to the same destination. So they've disbelieved. Really, if you really think about what a disbeliever is, they disbelieve in the truth. They disbelieve in their own reality. I mean, they're almost disbelieving their own soul and existence. I mean, even that which is around them, because uh, in this illusion, they think it's real, or they think that everything that they're looking at or that they're hearing is somehow came from nothing. If they're an atheist, so I mean, they're going to be given that, right? If you think about it, that's what they wanted. So they're going to have nothing in the hereafter. They're going to suffer. but it doesn't start in this world. I mean, it doesn't start in the hereafter. Their their life becomes miserable because they disregarded God's message. Yes, I mean, I mean, being summoned on a day of resurrection blind. I mean, imagine like not being able to see, but also imagine, being blind and like your heart is blind, your mind, your spirit, not just your sight. I mean, imagine just being blind in this world for the next 50 to 100 years. I mean, that would really be something. It'd be really, really difficult and unpleasant. And then of course the human being, as they invariably bear witness to this fact of how unappreciative they are, right? So if that were to happen to your average non-submitter, which is most people, then they would be imploring God to restore their eyesight, and be saying how much they miss looking at the trees, how much they miss, looking at a sunset, looking at the clouds, like they would bear witness to this. I mean, we see this is the same trend. This is always the same pattern. But it's going to be the same thing on the day of judgment. They're going to realize that they weren't really grateful. So when they lose these things, they're then going to be missing them, right? And that's because the human being is unappreciative by nature. That's a mindset like I guess we were all born with, right? We have egos, and so it's we have to triumph that in the sense of killing the ego and imploring God for help and growing our soul. And then He'll make it easy for us, right, to be appreciative. And these things should very well come naturally. The more we grow our soul, and the longer we become submitters. We thus requite those who transgress and refuse to believe in the revelations of the Lord. The retribution in the hereafter is far worse and everlasting. Does it ever occur to them how many previous generations we have annihilated? They are now walking in the homes of those before them. These are signs for people who possess intelligence. So these are more examples for the trans. These are really for the transgressors. These verses. I mean, only the believers, right? We know that. Uh, will actually take heed. The submitters. But these are also, I mean, the Quran is for the entire world, right? It's a revelation for the entire world, and everyone, up until the end of the world, from since when it was revealed, and especially now that we have the renewal and the purified message. But this is posing the question, and making them, hopefully inciting them to think about, what about the transgressors who were like them before them? Where are they? How did they get annihilated? I mean, they're documented too. I mean, you can signs. You can look on YouTube about Sodom and Gomorrah, about the amazing sulfur discovery, sulfuric rocks, the predating the radioactive uh, material within the earth in that specific region, and it gets very scientific. But the types of salts and stuff that are found, and then how nothing will grow there. And I mean, and then also from a historical aspect about all these communities who possessed might and power, and they were annihilated. So it's the same fate. So this is we can see this all throughout the Quran. This is a warning to the people, the transgressors specifically, to take heed. 129, if it were not for your Lord's predetermined plan, they would have been judged immediately. Therefore, be patient in the face of their utterances and praise and glorify your Lord before sunrise and before sunset and during the night. Glorify him as well as both ends of the day, that you may be happy. So, it's according to the predetermined plan. If it were not for this predetermined plan, they would have been judged immediately. So why we're here, you know, to distinguish, the submitters from the people, from the disbelievers, essentially, and also, to expose Satan's incompetence. And I like the next verse, 130. This is glorifying God, thinking about God, the everlasting. He's the living, the eternal. This should make us so happy, especially like if something was creeping up on us, trying to get us to worry. We immediately think about God, and nothing else matters. Like, because it's all an illusion. This life, the provisions, the people, whatever issues, all that matters is God, and our eternal existence is completely reliant upon our Creator. So and he's the best caretaker, the best protector, the only protector too. The only caretaker, because he's doing everything. He's the one who provides the provisions, and so this will make us happy to think about this, and give us a lot of contentment and peace despite what is happening around us. And do not, 131, and do not covet what we bestowed upon any other people. Such are the temporary ornaments of this life, whereby we put them to the test. What your Lord provides for you is far better and everlasting. Yeah. So yeah, this is kind of like what I was just saying. These are even if we see people that possess nice things. Um, I mean, we naturally we don't covet any of this, because we know uh, that these are just temporary ornaments. Everything eventually has its end, right? And so it's just a means to an end, as like people say. But most people would live for the temporary, right? Despite bearing witness and seeing for themselves that their lives and the lives of their parents and ancestors, like they die. But for some reason, it's the human. It's like there's a veil. I think on a lot of, I mean, most people, and it's not usually till the end of their life when they're super old. At least you would hope, but I've seen this. Like, I mean, some people don't care, but some people, and then even people like Billy Graham. Like, I think when he lived to be 100 too. I think he died on his 100th birthday. And then he wasn't even afraid, like at the time of death. Like he was like very kind of boastful and said something like he knows that he's going to heaven or something. I mean, it's such a sad, really sad case for these people. I mean, but I mean that's why it doesn't pay to be arrogant or egotistical. And I mean, now that we know this, we let all that go, and we worship God, and realizes it's all a test, to see if people are going to worship the creation, right, or worship the creator, and it's just an illusion too. And so, whatever God provides for us is far better and everlasting, and this life is designed, even though it's temporary and it's illusion, I mean, this life is long, and I mean, I know we hear it that how short this life is. Yes, it's short too, but it's kind of like uh, I don't want to. It's similar to like what could be explained as a paradox. Like it's very short, right? It's very temporary, but at the same time, from like our perspective and stuff, years and years of living in a certain condition or going through tests or whatever is a long time, and that's if it's a way to test the human being thoroughly, right? But eventually it comes to an end, and so worshiping God, and like the Quran says, the righteous works provide an eternal recompense and a and far better hope. So this is not gold, not silver, not chasing the dollar or any of that. 132. The parent's responsibility, you shall enjoin your family to observe the contact prayer Salah and steadfastly persevere in doing so. We do not ask you for any provisions. We are the ones who provide for you. The ultimate triumph belongs to the righteous. So this is a great responsibility too of the parents to enjoin their family, to observe the contact prayers, their children. Um, I mean, even if you come into submission, right? And let's say you were like a Christian and you had a Christian wife, and then you get the message and you believe, you should enjoin her, or if it's a her, or if it's the wife, let's say became a submitter and her husband. I mean, it goes both ways. I'm not trying to, but whatever the case may be, the spouse, should enjoin their spouse. The spouse, it just doesn't apply to the children. That too, of course, but it's a responsibility. But I mean, looking at this verse here, it does say the parents. So this is, referring to their children, of course. But I mean, which is very important because naturally you would want you realize what's at stake. You realize there's a new soul being brought into the world, and you want your end, your ultimate goal um, for them specifically is for them to make it right, and God willing, yourself and y'all can be together, because then especially this soul that God assigned assigned to you. I mean, this is just the way I think about it, but this is like, you're not gonna. I mean, yes, you care about like your education and these other things, but like, and okay, yeah, they grow up to be very rich and successful, but that shouldn't be the priority. The right priority is for them to worship God alone and prepare for the big day, because and then God willing, if they make it, they'll be so happy, that you were, that they'll be grateful, be grateful to God, be grateful to you, be appreciative, and realize that was the best thing, you could do as a parent. Uh, is to help them, encourage them, give them the message, and then enjoin them to do the prayers and and also steadfastly and persevere in doing so. So stay on them, in a good manner. But it's better to stay on them and not become lax, right, or lackadaisical is the term. Basically apathetic. Because you see a lot of neglect with many parents. Not even in the context of submission, but even outside submission. 131. Why messengers? They said, if he can only show us a miracle from his Lord. Did they not receive sufficient miracles with the previous messages? Had we annihilated them before this, they would have said, our Lord, you have sent. Had you sent a messenger to us, we would have followed your revelations and would have avoided this shameful retribution. Say, all of us are waiting, so wait. You will surely find out who are on the correct path and who are truly guided. So, this is they claim they'll believe if they get, XYZ miracle. But the thing is, previous miracles were shown, to the people and they still disbelieved. And then even when they're given their miracle or their prophecy comes to pass, some of them turn into disbelievers, like the people that said no messenger will come after Joseph, or the children of Israel, the Christians. They said this is the last messenger, or they believed in their prophecy. There's verses in the Quran about a lot of verses. When their own prophecy came to pass, I think it's in Surah 2. They resented it, for different reasons, perhaps because it wasn't revealed directly to them, or it invited them to uh, so they're claiming they're going to believe, right? They're claiming, no, we'll believe this prophecy is going to come to pass, and then when it actually comes to pass, right? And, a new messenger comes, new scripture, or new prophet, they end up turning into disbelievers, so they're tested and they're exposed in that way. I mean, even today, I mean, we kind of see this, too, with the smoke. right? I mean, a lot of people at the time of the messenger were, I mean, even after that, because we're still in the first, we're kind of at the end of the first generation, and because the submission is not like prevailed, it's still. I mean, you might be the only one in your city. Uh, I mean, maybe the major cities, right? Maybe that doesn't apply in the United States, but a lot of most cities across the world, I mean, there's not even one single submitter in there. At least I think from whatever town or place you could be from. So I mean, the message hasn't taken off, right? It's still not widely known or even accepted, and and plus the victory hasn't come. So this we're nearing the end of the first generation, because once the later generation. Um, that's when everything gets easier. It's easier to accept it. Everybody will be hopping on the bandwagons. You'll see the people coming in throngs, which we don't have yet. But God willing, it's coming soon. Surah 21, the prophets. I'll kind of speed things up here, about 10 minutes. In the name of God, most gracious, most merciful. Fast approaching is the reckoning for the people, but they're oblivious of verse. Mashallah, this is actually, I like this verse a lot, because it's such a, there's so much truth. Like when you read the Quran, there's no other book like this. You can just read this verse and, it immediately recognize how true it is. But this is the case, as we see. I mean, every like other verses in the Quran, it says every day brings us closer to the hour. Or did they not see that every day brings them closer to the end? Will they not take heed? I think. But it's so true. I mean, it's imagine like you're on a train on a one-way destination, and you hear the loud engines roaring. And it's moving fast, and every second that train is moving closer and closer to the end. The whatever, a tunnel or whatever you make it, whatever pit stop think of. But that's what it's like. And I mean, like, when you're on this train, you have so much time, to do your good works and worship and grow your soul. And every second, like that you miss, or people are just partying and stuff. And but that's because they're oblivious. Not just oblivious, but averse to, they're averse to the truth. Most of the people hate the truth, right? They love their idols. They don't like the idea of accountability. They rather intercession, the lazy. Sorry, but it's true, but it's a very unappreciative, lazy way out. I mean, it's very it's not good. It's unjust too to think that Jesus is going to absorb your sins, and it's okay for you to commit crimes and not answer for them. I mean, this is the definition of injustice. Same thing with the Mohammedans. I think it's the same concept of intercession. So opposition to new evidence, when a proof comes to them from their Lord, that is new. They listen to it heedlessly. Their minds are heedless, and the transgressors confer secretly. Is he not just a human being like you? Would you accept the magic that is presented to you? You know, so they actually refer to it as magic, right? Um, and it's such a sorry case for these people. The footnote for verse 3 is, although the Bible, Malachi, chapter 3, verse 1, and the Quran, chapter 3, verse 81, prophesy the advent of God's messenger, the covenant, when he did appear, supported by one of the greatest miracles, Surah 74, verse 30 to 35. Um, It was met with heedlessness and opposition. The divine assertion that every new proof is opposed has been proven by the Arabs' opposition to the Quran's miracle. So it's the same case. They have, when a proof comes to them, such as the Quran's mathematical miracle, that could only have been authored by God, right? And it's it shows that the message is divine, and also that the miracle itself is a proof, along with the messenger, that it was given to. Because they didn't have authorization for 1400 years. So obviously, you should really listen to everything that this person who is saying he's a messenger, and you should believe in him. Like what he's saying, and he's not saying anything on his own accord. He's following the instructions of his Lord, and that's to worship God alone. It's very, very simple. He said, "My Lord knows every thought in the heaven and the earth. He is the hearer, the omniscient." They even said hallucinations. He made it up, and he is a poet. Let him show us a miracle like those of the previous messengers. We never annihilated a believing community in the past. Are these people believers? We did not send before you except men whom we inspired. Ask those who know the scripture if you do not know. We did not give them bodies that did not eat, nor were they immortal. We fulfilled our promise to them. We saved them together with whomever we willed and annihilated the transgressors. We have sent down to you a scripture containing your message. Do you not understand? Many a community we terminated because of their transgression, and we substituted other people in their place. When our requital came to pass, they started to run. Do not run. Come back to your luxuries and your mansions, for you must be held accountable. So this is just these last several verses. This is the common. Also too, this is also another measure, if you want to call it that, of or just another, I should say, indicator, not the main indicator, but like another indicator that like what this messenger brought is the truth, because the fact that it's the same case as with the previous messengers and prophets, Moses, Jesus, Abraham. They were never accepted by their generations, and then it's always the same case, and they always taught the same message. And the fact that they're largely rejected is should be an indicator for submitters or believers that this is like it's the same consistency. We find the same case. I think in Surah 6, maybe not 6, but I can't remember. But it is our immutable law that the message. Well, that's one, but that's the one. But there was another one where it says, and since this one's in Surah 6, I think, but we did not permit, or we permitted the enemies of every prophet of the humans and jinn devils to inspire on each other fancy words in order to deceive, and it goes on to say, and he thus sets up the devil's schemes, as a test for those who harbor doubts in their hearts and disbelieve. And we did not. We permitted the devil to interfere with all of the messengers and prophets' wishes, meaning it's a test for the people too, right? Because it's not going to be so. It is cut and clear dry, but in another sense, like it's. People have to be tested, like whether and the test is very simple: whether they're going to listen to God and make God their God, or they're going to listen to these hypocrites, these naysayers, these religious scholars, that come in after the messenger, come in after whatever messenger or prophet, and they lie about God or they distort the truth. And yeah, this isn't good, and we don't like this, right? As submitters, but we also understand this: the God is running everything, and these things happen for very specific and calculated reasons. Because how else, like when the messenger announces messengership, how else could you pose? Like he said, there was people that didn't belong. So it was they dropped out. But previously, if something like that didn't happen, how would you know? It's the same thing, when these lies about the messenger, about God, especially even that are like homosexuality that is being there's it's it's come to my attention some time ago, like a couple years ago, but it's recently. We've seen that there's even I'm not even going to call them submitters; they're just call them hypocrites. within submission that are promoting this idea that it's okay. I mean, they're lying about God. They're setting the worst example, right? And then there's people that actually believe this and flock to this. So in a way, it serves a purpose when we when we see this. Yes, we don't. It upsets us because we see the lies about God, and we see Satan's message being pushed. But also we understand, and this is, I think, very important. Like there's a good reason for these things that happen. Like there's a sifting process, and it's uh, sometimes the strainer is very fine. It's a very fine sifter. Like a very you know. So it's a good reason for all of this, for everything. So pretty much that time, I'll just finish off these last few verses. They said, "Woe to us! We were really wicked. This continued to be their proclamation until we completely wiped them out. We did not create the heavens and earth and everything in between them just for amusement. If we needed amusement, we could have initiated it without any of this if that is what we wanted to do. Instead, it is our plan to support the truth against falsehood in order to defeat it. Woe to you for the utterances you utter. To him belongs everyone in the heavens and the earth, and those at him are never too arrogant to worship him, nor do they ever waver. They glorify night and day without ever tiring." So this is the angels, I think, that we're referring to, but also we should try to do this too, right? We should never waver in I mean, even if, we're human beings, we're obviously, we know we're not angels, but, I mean, we should, really do our best to, grow our soul. And also, just the last thing I want to say of the 17 and 18, the whole purpose of our creation is a very specific purpose, but the plan is to support the truth against the falsehood, that there's no other God but God, and that Satan will fail, right? So will all of his soldiers, and so will all the people that end up following him, which is going to be the majority of people, too. So with this said, if there's any comments or questions, please feel free. Thank you.
Sure, thank you, brother. Good study. MashaAllah. Yeah, one thing I wanted to talk about, I think you mentioned that about the first generation. You said the first generation has pretty much ended. So um, I think like the first generation would be anybody who accepts submission, as a first generation. Like, for example, like not as opposed to accepting it from your parents.
Oh, I always thought the like when it says the first generation and the later or the early many when it says many from the early generations or from the later gen, I always thought that meant
Mhm.
like the time of the messenger. Like for example, I think the messenger talked about it like with Abraham. For example, like the people that were close to Abraham before the message took off, when it was a lot more difficult to believe. You know, versus like once the message becomes widely known and like and accepted, kind of like the I think maybe the example that was given was Muhammad. You know, the people that were around him at the time. When he talks about getting the same credit, like he was talking to his congregation about the people that come after, when submission prevails, and when it's on every street corner, they don't get the same credit as the people who were early in the message. When we were opposed, when people are opposed and mocked and ridiculed and made fun of, there's different ranks for that. That's I think what I was referring to. That's how I always understood it. I never I think
Y-
that's
y-
how I
y-
heard
yeah. So sorry, I was talking. I didn't know I was on mute.
it.
So I was saying. So I mean, it's pretty much the same idea. Like many from the early generations and many from the later generations. For example, early generations would be the ones like first generations you accept, and then you have later generations which will inherit it, a lot of them, also. So like, and he gives messengers of the covenant also gives example of that, so like one of the contemporaries, he gives example of her, like for her it's not the same as for her daughter, and he names her, and he says like they're going around telling their children how
Right.
the messengers in their
Messenger.
house and stuff
Yeah.
like that, so her credit will not be the same, so like there'll be early generations and later generations in that sense, but the first generation would be like you accepting submission. It's like first generation versus you being born into it, well, you being born into it is easy to accept, similarly, other people accepting submission when
It's widespread.
it's widespread and stuff, it's easier, so when it's more difficult and more you get persecution and stuff, there's more credit, when it's harder for you, there's more credit,
Yeah, that makes sense.
yeah.
I mean, what if your parent introduced you to the message, but like ended up being a disbeliever? Like if y'all got it at the same time, is that?
Well,
Um,
in your case, like it was both of you kind of got at the same time. It's not like you were born into it,
oh yeah, we both had to like drop the Jesus idol worship, and I was
Yeah, you were not born into it,
right, yeah. Jesus
Yeah,
idol worship. I was
yeah,
oh, it
yeah.
sounds
If
like
you were
it's an
born into it,
echo.
then it would be different. Like,
Right.
yeah, if you
Yeah.
were born into it, then it would be different.
Right. Right. Brother Sipan is with us. Is that Sipan? Assalamu alaikum.
Yeah. So, anyone has any comments or questions about the verses we read?
Yeah, kind of. I guess I had a question slash thought about what do y'all think. But like when reading the beginning of Surah 21, I think it was verse 3, about like every time a formidable proof came to people, and as we like the footnote, talks about, as the same thing with the Quran's mathematical miracle, and the message and messenger is rejected. You like, I mean, this has always been like pretty much the case. I mean, like Moses at the end was just left with a few believers. Even if a lot of people went with him, in the end, only a few people actually believed in the miracles. Because if you believe for like 5 minutes when you see it before Moses and Pharaoh, and then you turn into disbelievers with the golden calf, I mean, you didn't really believe it in the first place. You were probably just wanting to escape. But anyway, so it's always been the same. I mean, like if thinking about it, like why it almost makes you think like these souls and and most people that do this. I mean, it's most humans, like in the high society when they witness God, because we were all there. These were the same type of people that probably would have never believed in God's omnipotence, and that God, like in the very beginning, before, like billions of years ago, when we were there and
Mm-hmm.
we were believing in God, we could see God. They probably would have eventually. They probably would have never ever believed in that truth in the first place, like billions of years ago. And it's reflected on again on this earth by them disbelieving in like profound miracles, evidence. It's like, how could you disbelieve in something like so great and so profound like the Quran's mathematical miracle? Like, what is that? Like, it means that it must mean that these people's soul had to be doing this the first thing. They had to have been the same way in the very beginning, like, believing in God alone. There was some type of something real messed up in them that
Mm-hmm.
like, does this make sense, or what do you think about I mean, it's almost the same thing like with maybe being unappreciative too. Like most people are unappreciative of the provisions God give them. And so like if they were in paradise, they would eventually do the same thing, and they would be ungrateful and unappreciative. Even if they had like infinite provisions, they would be greedy and want more. Right. And that's reflected in this world. Like we pretty much, I mean, we have infinite rain, infinite food, we never go hungry. And then there's people that are still unappreciative. I mean, we're basically temperature controlled too. Like we can set AC, or the heat, whatever the case is. But then there's still people that are unappreciative and are ungrateful. So I mean, if like these people, in the beginning, like in heaven, they were probably this way to begin with, and they probably weren't going to change. And like here on this world, this is just. I've thought about this before, um, and also in the context of like how the messenger talks about like the good souls and the bad souls.
Mm-hmm.
Like why are some people like just so oblivious, to like all the portents around them, the sun, the moon,
Mm-hmm.
and then the big like miracles, like forgetting about what Moses did. They saw the sea, and like how could you be like you're almost like they're insane. Like you have to be crazy. you know
Mm-hmm. I'm
I
so
guess that was
sorry.
like uh
I'm so sorry. I didn't get the full question because
I guess
uh,
it
I
was it
was
was
I was getting messages by one submitter. He's trying to join the study,
uh it was kind
and
of more like my thoughts slash what do y'all think about.
uh-huh.
And that was all.
Yeah, he joined the study now. So go ahead. Maybe
uh,
say it one more time.
Oh,
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu
Salam
alaikum.
alaikum, brother.
Oh, mashallah, I like your cat. Subhan-
Mhm.
Unfortunately, I lost my cat. He was been with me for 5 years.
Your
Oh,
cat? Oh,
Yes, I lost him.
oh,
God will you see him in heaven.
yeah. Oh,
Yes, he's in paradise now. He's enjoying.
Mhm.
mashallah.
He was a lucky cat because he was been with a submitter. Mashallah.
Mashallah.
So I have a question, brothers. Sorry for my bad English. I'm trying to do my best actually because I speak three languages in a day. Uh, so as we see in the Quran, so it is only eating and drinking and sexual activity is breaking the fasting, right?
So basically, brother, the way we conduct the study is, first we read the verses for 40 minutes, and then we talk about the questions regarding the verses. And then once we're finished with the questions about the verses and comments, then we go with the off-topic questions after that.
Oh, sorry about that. So can you please
Yeah, no
tell me
problem.
which verses you are on?
Yeah, so we just read from Surah 20, verse 121, all the way to Surah 21, verse 20.
Okay, Surah 21. Uh, 21 on verses 'uh, John, could you please tell me the verses number? The surah is
Oh,
21.
yes, yes. No, Sarah 20 TH, and then the verse is 121.
Because of the connection bad, can you please repeat again?
Yes, Sarah 20.
You can write it, write it in chat. You know, you got 21, 21,
Okay, thank you.
21, 20. Yeah, I posted in chat.
No, no, that's not. That's not.
Yeah, earlier I was just saying,
Uh, I have a question for verses 121.
oh,
So they ate, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. They ate from it, whereupon their bodies became visible to them. So the body, is it about the world body?
this I believe this
Yes.
is referring to like when they were with their souls, they were sent down to earth immediately into their human bodies, because before they were in paradise in the high heaven, and when they ate from the tree, which is allegorical for the not the original sin, but it's allegorical. Like the tree represents the cursed tree in the Quran. The messenger spoke about this, and he said this is, I forget exactly, but it's basically like the mother, like the idol worship, like disbelieving in God, and like that there can be other gods. It basically tied some to do with idol worship, and that's what Satan. I'll have to. That's what Satan was duped them with, and when they believed in it and they accepted it, uh, their souls, they came down to this earth and inhabiting their flesh, their human bodies, and that's what it means. Like when they became visible to them, like they were transported. Um, that's
I
Brother
understand now. Therefore, I ask, because if it is the world body, it cannot handle in the high heaven. Therefore, I ask. Thank
Yep.
you, John.
Okay, mashallah, you're welcome.
MashaAllah.
Yes, John, what were you saying?
Oh, like earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I've thought about this from time to time, and in like context too of like how the messenger talked about the good souls and the evil souls and how people are assigned and stuff. And when Surah 21, verse 3, verse 2 and 3 about the opposition to new evidence, when a proof comes to them from their Lord, that is new, they listen to it heedlessly, their minds are heedless, and the transgressors confer secretly. Is he not just a human being like you? Would you accept the magic that is being presented to you? And if you read the footnote, about this divine assertion that every new proof is opposed to has been proven by the Arabs' opposition to the Quran's miracle. So basically, it's the same system we've seen with all the prophets and messengers and disbelieving and clear cut evidence, like stuff that is so real. And that is very like simple to understand, right? And it's impossible to imitate. And it's very intricate and complex, even like especially the great miracle we have today. And so, like, what I think, like, what this shows us. I mean, these are just my thoughts. If the, I guess, kind of a question too about what y'all think. But like the people, I mean, this is probably the same type of behavior that these people had billions of years ago. Because when we all bore witness to God's, we could see God, right? All of that we has been obscured with His body, but when we were creatures in the high society, these were the people that are doing like rejecting the clear proofs were probably the same type of souls that would reject the clear proof of God's omnipotence, His greatness, and that He's only one God in the beginning. Because I mean, how else do you explain like people? Like when such clear proofs, like when Moses splitting the sea, and he's only left with two believers. The rest were disbelievers. So they believing in the miracle for like 10 or 15 minutes. When the things were being presented before Pharaoh or when the sea was split, I mean, that doesn't count like as real belief if you end up disbelieving in the end, right? Like they did with the golden calf and before entering the city. So basically, it's the same system. How people can so crazily disbelieve in the clear cut, uh, like strong proofs. So that's it's almost it's like a reflection in a way. I guess I've thought about it like this, but it's a reflection of who these people were in the beginning. Of disbelieving and rejecting like the obvious and clear proof, like the ultimate truth of their creator. Billions of years ago, like when we existed as creatures. You know, I mean, is this it's like them doing this again in this world. They're repeating the same thing. You know, I mean, really, there was a flaw and defect in all of us, right? Because I mean, that's why I'm here, why we're all here. Like the messenger says, there was some defect in us. you know, and that it was, I think it was like it we had to be sent back to school, you know, and we come back here for a test and to be re-educated. Um, but yeah, like I guess like it mainly tying to the like into the soul, you know, and like how maybe that's how these souls were in the beginning, you know. You kind of understand like my
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So you're saying that maybe well, I mean, the thing is that God knows where each soul stands, right? And it's not like God didn't know where we stood, right? If God wanted at that time, God could have sent those among the humans that were bad, versus people who genuinely just got swept with the crowd and didn't have the right uh, guidance, from to make the right decision. Um, right? They weren't like naturally rebellious people, but God knew them. God knew them. God could have sent them to hell then, but then they would complain, like, had God guided us, had God sent a messenger, all these things, and there would be no evidence for these people themselves to see who they really are, like, you know and so this gives this opportunity for us to be sent down where we can see those works on who we are, and prove for ourselves and for the rest of humanity and other angels as well, to see why these people are going to hell, the people who are going to hell and the people who are not,
mashallah,
right?
right, mashallah. Yeah, that's a good
Mhm.
good explanation.
Mhm.
Yeah, kind of like that also, right? That just ties into what we read about. It is God and angels. Or it says, and indeed it is our plan to support the truth against the falsehood in order to defeat it. So,
Mhm.
God alone is the ultimate truth. So uh, Him possessing all the power. Brother Abdul, God willing, we can we'll and
Yeah,
off
it's
time.
better if you speak, brother, because people can't read your comments. It's better that if you're able to speak, then
Yeah. Yes, brother. According to the verses, I mean, it is related to the topic. God says it will have seven gates. Each gate will get a specific share of them. So, as we know, we have high heaven, down and Araf. It will be the down one. The third one will be the hell. So, we have extra more gates. What are they?
this is referring to the seven gates of hell. It will have seven gates. It's referring to
Se-
hell. Those are the seven gates
oh,
of hell.
okay, okay, I understand. Thank you.
You're welcome, brother. Yeah, mashallah. The ones about the parents' responsibility is very important. I mean, we should. Um, it's our responsibility, like as Brother John said, to raise our kids to be righteous submitters and to enjoin them to do their contact prayers and you know, of course, you're going to teach them about this world as well, and send them to college and whatnot. And if you want them to be doctors or whatever, obviously you're going to do that. But your priority should not be any of these things. Obviously, priority should be that you teach them the right way. You teach them how to be good submitters. Because that's what they're going to take with them for the rest of their eternity. I mean, this worldly life is just temporary, and it's also for you too, because it's your responsibility as God has given you for your own soul as well.
Mashallah. Yeah. Also, you get credit too. For for doing that too. Like it's a way for the parents to grow their soul more and get more credits for the hereafter.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen many people, that they didn't teach their kids submission. They were just way too like, trying to be
Like
different.
people,
You know,
like
they were trying to be different because like the traditional Muslims, they came from like a very strict family, and they're like, oh no, I want my child to make their own decision and this and that. Like that's fine. Child will make their own decision. You're not preventing the child from making their decision. Eventually, when he grows up, he will make his own
Mhm.
decision. But
Right.
you, as a parent, when they're young, they don't know the difference. You have to teach them the right way. You don't let your child decide whether he wants to go to school or not, because you know
Yeah, he's not
the
gonna want to
child
go to
is
school,
not.
right?
Yeah, the child
He's
doesn't
gonna
know
want
what's
to.
good for him at that time.
Exactly. Yeah. Like I'm thinking of me. Like I would always wanted to stay home from school and play video games or like play
Yeah,
outside.
yeah.
But
I
like
mean,
looking
those.
back, I'm like, oh man, thank God. Like my mom and
Mhm.
dad like made us go to school, and I mean even the yeah like after school.
Yeah, so I mean, those things they really then end up backfiring at the end, because when the
Yes.
children grow, then they don't want to
Yeah.
listen to the parents,
Right.
because the habits, have already been formed, and they're already spoiled, and
Yeah.
Satan has already, gotten them in different other things, because they neglected their responsibility early on, as God's system goes, so then it becomes hard, then they can't do it. So if you want to teach them the right way, teach them to do the contact prayers, teach them from the very beginning, and you have to be consistent with that. Like every day, 5 times a day, you have to be consistent with the contact prayers, with the charity. If you're giving them pocket money, whatever, like teach instill all these habits. Reading Quran, all of that, and they do it. They do it easily. You know,
Hmm.
yeah, mashallah.
MashaAllah, Suleiman brother, you are right. So we should take care of them with this with discipline of the responsibility, because the priority of the children nowadays, they try to teach them how to go to school to study the world's things. But
Hmm.
according to the Quran, we have to show them practically, not like to think, no, he is child, so when he grow up, he will understand. But this is Satan's thing. It is very bad, because God give you like a white paper. The child is like a white paper, so you can uh, help him
Hmm.
with a fresh mind. Because when he grow up, it will be very difficult for the father or the mother to teach them. So
Yeah.
therefore, actually, I've been married for 5 years. Still, I didn't decide to have a child.
Right, brother. Do you
Because
want us to like?
nowadays,
You want us to talk about that?
sorry,
I said, do you want us to talk about that?
uh,
Mashallah.
uh, actually, I just want to say the responsibilities are difficult, because if you would like to have a child, you have to take care the responsibilities of the uh, of Quran that teach us.
So you're saying that I mean, are you? So I guess now I have to ask you, since you brought that up. So are you saying you didn't want to have a child because you don't want to have responsibility?
Yes, I can say that. Yes, I'm not ready yet, actually.
Uh-huh.
You said you're
uh,
married, brother?
Yeah, maybe John Smith and Sister Huda, they don't know me well. I'm 28 years old. Just to introduce fastly about myself. Uh, if you have personal questions, you can ask, because after that, inshallah, I will join the Quran study. Because of the difficult tests, I wasn't ready. I didn't force myself, but now after that, inshallah, I will do my best for force myself to join the English study, and also to have a study in Turkish. Yesterday I did, mashallah, God helped me. I was good. I
Mhm.
told the Jafar, uh, he said, uh, at the first, yeah, you did well, mashallah.
MashaAllah.
Also,
Okay, so are there any other comments or questions about the verses we read before we get into any off-topic questions? I guess we touched on a lot of questions, but I guess maybe as far as the second page, maybe if there are any comments or questions about that, we could probably talk about that before we go into any
oh, brother
off-topic
Nizam joined.
questions.
It's been a while.
Oh,
Mashallah. I don't know why I think that's funny.
Assalamu alaikum everyone. Sorry, brother. Actually,
Assalamu alaikum.
my schedule has been changed. So hopefully after 2 months, I will be joining mostly. So
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
mashallah. Glad
You'll be
to
joining every 2 months?
have you.
no, after 2 months. But this time I'm little bit. I
All right.
understand. My.
Mhm.
Yeah. Thank you for your. But I listen. After after you study, when I get time. So I just
Uh-huh.
watch the
Mashallah.
audio. Mashallah.
For sure.
Mhm.
Yeah, I guess on the second page, if there's any comments or questions from anybody,
Mhm.
brother Suleiman.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, so the how they respond to the messenger and how they uh, describe the messenger is really, I mean, bizarre when you think about it. They even, like it says, they even said hallucinations. He made it up. He's a poet. Let him show us a miracle like those of the previous messengers. So, like, going back to the miracle of it has a footnote for actually 21:3, right? It says, although the Bible and the Quran prophesy the advent of the messenger of the covenant, when he did appear, supported by one of the greatest miracles, he was met with heedlessness and opposition, and the divine assertion that every uh, new proof is opposed has been proven by the Arabs' opposition in the Quran's miracle, right? And like I think, like they like reject it so easily, like take it so lightly, and they don't care, like without examining the evidence, how people, like, it's one thing if they would actually examine the evidence and go through it and then say things like that, but they usually, or almost always, will just look at one or two things, at the top, and just reject it based off of that, right? Like, not even scratching the surface of the miracle, like, rejecting it at its face value, and then they, not only that, but they're so insulting and demeaning, and calling it hallucination and calling the messenger crazy, and and then they, obviously, we know that they assassinated him. You know, also, and we see how they are in opposition to almost every messenger that we know of. Has met with similar opposition. Um, but it really shows their mindset, like how comfortable they are in their ignorance to oppose, um, a miracle from God. Like the mathematical miracle is one of the greatest miracles, and as we talked about it before, I mean, how people just take it so lightly, and it's like, oh yeah, you just got numbers, so what? Like, it's like just a magic trick you're playing on us. And and the calling the Quran like hallucinations, and I mean, and we see that now too. People to this day. I mean, people are like, you go online and you see what kind of absurd things people come up with against the Quran. Like they make up stuff.
And they never even opened it. Like to your point,
Yeah, they don't
to
have any
emphasize
clue.
your point, yeah, they never even opened the Quran. They're speaking about matters which they have no knowledge about. And
Hmm.
yeah, especially to your point, that's a good point because like that's very, very common. I've seen, amongst
Hmm.
the idol worshiping
Christians.
Christians. Yeah,
Yeah.
like they they just hear something, from some
Hmm.
other Christian friend, and then they just repeat it as if it's like the ultimate
Hmm.
truth. It's like,
Yeah,
man,
and
like
then
if you yeah.
I've also seen the idol worshippers in India also. Like they are just very very similar. Like in India, like they worship all different kinds of idols, right? Monkeys and elephants and
Elephants.
every kind of
And
different idols.
Yeah,
And
she
they're putting out similar, very hostile comments,
like a
about the Quran and
parrot.
stuff. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Just like a parent.
Yeah.
That's really what they do. Like I've and yeah, I mean yeah, again to your point, like they do it so kind of haphazardly and nonchalantly, like
Hmm.
it just shows their lack of caution and reverence to they what they're doing. They don't really, I think, take it seriously.
Hmm.
Yeah, but really,
It's just
Actually, brothers,
go ahead, brother.
sorry for interruption you. Continue, please.
Oh no, I was just gonna say it really, if it come when it comes down to it, it's their ego. Their fragile egos. Well, their egos cause them to be so fragile in that manner of
precisely. Precisely.
not wanting to um, look at the truth.
As Suleiman brothers said about how they comfortable about their ignorance. So we should be very thankful to God that He passed us with very difficult situations. For example, I was before Sunnah, then I passed to the Quranism, then literally, yeah, until to find the true religion. So therefore, guidance is very big gift that God gave to us, because people who says we are submitters, they think they are in the right way, but when we check the Quran and uh, the messenger, they are very far away from the Quran, unfortunately.
You said who's far away?
The people who is tell themselves we are submitters, but when we check the Quran and when we
Hmm.
show them, for example,
Hmm.
uh, what we call in English, I forgot that they did for the man, which is Quran completely reject. They are following their ego, actually, their ideas. They put their ideas ahead
Are you
of
talking
the
about
messengers. So,
circumcision? Are you talking about
uh,
circumcision?
yes, absolutely, absolutely. Of many things, actually,
Hmm.
because I was uh, following them before, but God
Uh-huh.
showed me the truth. You know, therefore,
Hmm.
guidance is very very big gift, brothers.
Definitely. Hmm.
Because many people think they are in the right way, but it is not.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think like the Arabs. I mean, all these people that are so opposed. I mean, not just Arabs, but like these most ardent enemies. These souls. Like going back to what I was kind of getting at earlier too. These had to have leaned. These souls had to have leaned extremely close to Satan, like almost to the point. Like we know the jinns were very like they sided with Satan directly, but like these humans probably rejoiced in Satan's rebellion, and they what's the uh they're they loved his idea in the beginning, and so that's why, I mean, they had to have be that evil. Like, I mean, if they're continuing this way in this world, these souls had to have leaned very far away from God and very close to Satan, and that's why exactly why they're so opposed to the truth. Still, even in this world, is to like the messenger said, to confirm the hardcore rebels who will be in the lowest of the lowest pit of hell. You know, I mean, if there was anything good in them, like we know from the Quran, like God says, He would have guided their hearts. But they're probably very evil souls that loved Satan's rebellion. I mean, we don't remember this. There's no way for me to say this is the truth, but this is just what it seems to me, like in context of everything, kind of what we've known, from the history of events and like what the messenger has touched on in the Quran. These people had to have leaned extremely close to Satan, and they loved that idea of. That's why they're so averse to the truth. That's why they hate the truth, right? And that's why they
Yeah,
hate
but I mean,
any proof or any miracle that comes to them.
yeah, but
They,
I mean, what we see in the Quran is that all humans, were not. They didn't love the idea. Like, they wanted to see for themselves. They were not able to. They were not sure, and they wanted to go through the test. Um, and they wanted to take the offer to go through the test, because they said they were going to worship God alone. But we don't really know exactly like
right,
how they
yeah,
behaved and stuff like that. We just simply
right,
don't have,
right,
that
yeah.
insight.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. We don't. That's true. I mean, we don't know what like their soul and their heart was and all that. But,
I mean, of course, in their heart, yeah, bro. But like in terms of like how they reacted,
right.
but of course they were bad souls, right? God already um, knew about them at this point. Like God already knew at that point which one of those souls would go to hell and which ones won't, or which ones to put in hell or not, based on His knowledge. Like he could have even like even say like simulated in his head, but uh, but of course it was for us to see through it. But God knew that there was these people were evil, and then there were other people in that same category who uh, who deserve to be redeemed, because they just made the wrong choice because they got swept in the crowd.
Peer pressure, maybe.
Hmm.
Uh, and not making a firm stand.
Hmm.
Yeah, like the messenger said. It's like this life is. How he gave a lot of good examples about how we come back to school. There's a lot of maybe there's defects. So he said God will God said, "I'll send them back," and those who listen to my message and take heed, those who want to be purified. Um, I mean, man, there's so many aspects to like it all too. Like it's amazing. But yeah.
Okay, so are there any other comments or questions about the verses we read? Well, I wanted to comment on verse 13 and 14. Verse 13, actually, 12 and 13. It says, when our requital came to pass, they started to run. It says, do not run and come back to your luxuries and your mansions, for you must be held accountable. It reminds me when people cannot withstand God's physical presence and they actually run to hell, and how even the message of the covenant, he details, like, and they're all laughing about it, all the different ways that people are insisting on going to hell now, that same way, like on the day of judgment, when they can't withstand God's physical presence, they're going to be trying to find ways to run to hell, um, because they cannot withstand God's physical presence at the time. They'll be running from God because they can't withstand God's physical presence. Yeah, so and the verse 17, what I was just saying, God could have simulated it in his head. It says if we needed amusement, we could have initiated it without any of this, if this is what we wanted to do. Like, so we did not create the heavens and the earth and everything between them just for amusement. If we needed amusement, we could have initiated it without any of this, if this is what we wanted to do.
Subhanallah. Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah. Like, yeah, exactly. But if those, it's not. This isn't just like some people. You hear like
Hmm.
they call, oh, life, live, love, laugh. It's just one big game.
Hmm.
LOL.
Hmm.
And then
Yeah,
YOLO. You know,
YOLO, yeah.
YOLO. Yeah. But I mean, it's really amazing too. Like God and the angels, they could have. Uh, I mean, they even understand like what amusement is, and it's interesting. You know,
Hmm.
uh, like we know what amusement, like what amuses us
Hmm.
and stuff, and they under.
Hmm.
I mean, they created God, the whole concept or idea of that. But it's not just for amusement. It's for a specific purpose.
Yeah, okay, I guess if there are any off-topic questions from anyone, we can talk about those. So I guess, uh, brother Abdul Salam, you had a comment, uh, or had a question. Um, would you like to repeat your
Uh,
question again?
Actually, not yet. Just want to say, uh, i- w- the people that they selected the freedom of choice, they don't have to take risk to choose their ideas. They should follow God's rules because they took risk for their soul. So the best way uh, to go to God's kingdom to follow God's rules.
Yeah, didn't you have a question earlier? You asked when I said that we don't do off-topic in the beginning.
No, I don't have. I am listening. I don't have any questions now.
Was there a question you asked earlier? I'm trying to remember. Um,
Uh, what was
you
it?
for you
I
you
forgot
forgot.
actually.
Do you remember, John?
Yes,
This
that's
question?
right.
Yeah, like I was starting to remember, but then I just forgot. But I do.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it
Okay.
was something to do with no, not Sir Seven, but
I think we may have omega-3 for our brain.
Mm. My brain is fine, but I was just fasting at the time you asked the question.
Yeah, specifically fasting is the powerful way to improve the body.
Mhm.
Mashallah, a very nice gift from God.
So, okay, so I guess if there are no other comments or questions, God willing, we can conclude our study. So thank you all for joining us. God willing, our next English Quran study would be on Tuesday at 1 p.m. Pacific time. God bless you all. Assalamu alaikum.
God bless you all.
Assalamu alaikum.